Yeah.
Have you thought about doing maybe like a cool chair spin?
No, why would I do that?
Because it's cool.
No.
Chuck, go on.
Anyway, guys.
Chuck us a spin. Nice.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, how we all going? A little bit of a middle of the week upload, I guess. I just finished editing next Monday's video, and it is about GoPro color grading for your video, and I also write a new trail calendar that I haven't written before. While I was editing the video, obviously I did talk about some camera settings and stuff like that, because obviously it's super important when it comes to color grading. And I thought to myself I should just make this quick little video going over my basic camera, my basic GoPro camera setup and my settings for mountain biking. I feel like with the success of my GoPro chest strap video, that maybe you guys would want to know how I shoot my mountain biking footage to the settings. So that's what I'm going to quickly do today, smash it out real fast. So hopefully you guys can take these tips, tricks on board, or these settings on board, and get some nice looking footage. To start things off, I obviously shoot always with Polar Pro ND filters. Funnily enough, I only realistically ever shoot with the N8. I could probably step it up to the N16. I just always am riding in trees, so I don't really feel the need to go to the N16. Maybe on a really sunny day, and if I was ever out in the wide open and it was really bright, I would. But for what type of riding I do, especially out of Kentland, because you are covered in trees a lot of the time, the N8 does really well, especially crushing those highlights. So before we even get into the settings, if you don't use Polar Pro or just some sort of ND filter, it's just going to be just perfect for getting a lot better looking mountain biking footage from this guy. Now, jumping into the settings, and I'll have some camera of video footage of the settings. I never film in 4K. I never film in anything really over 2.7. The majority of the time I just shoot in 1080. It is fantastic if you want to shoot in 4K, but I personally don't ever watch anything in 4K. The most I ever watch something in is 1080p. So I'm usually shooting at 1080p, 24 frames a second. I am always shooting in super view when it comes to GoPro footage, always super view. It gives you the ability to crop in if you want to make an Instagram post, and it also gives you the opportunity to get as much in. When it comes to obviously stabilization, always going for that hyper smooth. I do use the Hero 7. I haven't felt the need to upgrade to the Hero 8 just because it didn't do enough for me. So fingers crossed that the Hero 9 is amazing. Always with Pro Tune, or with Pro Tune on, so I can take a lot more control of my camera's capabilities. Now shutter speed is an interesting one. I've been tossing up between 1/192 and then 1/384. At the moment I'm at 1/192, just because I feel like it gives me a slow enough shutter to get nice motion when I'm riding quick, and then also it's at that point where it's fast enough to still keep things relatively sharp. But I am going to be playing around and trying to shoot with a quicker shutter speed to see how that works out for me. But yeah, so obviously with your shutter speed, the faster it is, the more likely that everything's going to be reasonably, in focus, because the shutter's moving faster. And obviously the more you slow it, the more blur you're gonna have, which gives that feel of you being really quick, which in my circumstance, not being exactly the greatest rider, making it look like you're going faster is always a positive. So yeah, that's gonna be my shutter speed. My white balance, I keep at 500K. 5,000K. I just personally like that white balance. I feel like it's a nice enough middle of the range where you can still get a bit of blue in an image. I feel like GoPros are usually quite warm, so I sort of keep mine around that way, just so I can bring back some nice greens, bring back some nice blues, and yeah, it just seems to be what I like doing. ISO, my minimum's always at 100. My maximum on a sunny day will always be at 100 as well. The only time I realistically ever bump up my ISO max is on days where it's really overcast. And I guess that's the only downside to riding somewhere where you're constantly covered around and surrounded by trees. You want to try to keep as little ISO in an image as possible, especially with these guys. The GoPros, obviously their sensors aren't exactly that ridiculously crazy, so any ISO in a GoPro image is sort of really noticeable, and you probably would have seen it with the grain and stuff like that. I keep my sharpness at medium. That's just personal preference. You can keep it high if you'd like. It just makes the, well, in the name, makes the image look sharp. But I feel like it is too sharp, so I keep mine at a medium. And now, when it comes to color, this is completely up to you guys. Obviously, I do a lot of post editing, so I shoot at a flat color grade, just so I can pick and choose the colors I'd like to bring back in post. But you know, this one's up to you. But I think that if you're someone who wants to start editing their footage, shooting with a flat color grade is going to be super sweet. But the GoPro color is not bad. I just personally think that it just saturates the crap out of every color that's in front of it, and I'm just not a big fan of that. But yeah, and then raw audio I keep high, and then the mics I just keep it auto unless you know have an external mic, which I don't ride with. So that's pretty much going to be my video settings for when I go mountain biking. Obviously, I'll give you a quick little extra tip here. If you are going to be filming anything that involves slow motion, so at 60 frames per second or 120 frames per second and upwards, always have your shutter speed double the frame rate. So if you're wanting to shoot at 60 frames per second, your shutter speed should be at least 120 frames per second. If you're shooting at 120 frames per second, your shutter speed should be, come on brain, it should be 240, 1/240 of a second. Jeez. I was recording that whole time. But yeah, so that's just an extra tip. But yeah, besides that guys, that's my GoPro, that's the settings I use when I ride. So yeah, main thing, honestly, ND filters are huge. Sunglasses for your lens, it just makes the image look so much better. But besides all that guys, get out there, go riding, maybe take your GoPro out of auto and play around with the settings and see what you can get, and you might be surprised you really enjoy it, and you might, you know, take a trip down this editing world that I do, and it's super fun. So hope everyone's doing well. Yeah, sweet, peace. Wait, that's, if I do it that way, isn't that like a thing where it's like aggressive if you throw a peace sign the opposite way?
Couldn't tell you.
Whatever. Sweet, see ya.